Hey guys, how's it going
Howard
out
on
there? Hope you guys are
Riverside.
doing well. So, we got a fair amount of King of the Hill news that have come out in the last few days. We had a little bit of a brief teaser come out for Father's Day, and we also had a few posters which actually showed Joseph and Connie as young adults now. And we also got Hank Hill is officially going to be a character in Fortnite, which sounds like a fucking weird phrase to say. Then again, I mean, I feel like Fortnite has everything. I mean, I think Martin Luther King Jr. is in Fortnite at this point. So, I mean, Hank Hill being there isn't that crazy. But yeah, so we got Hank Hill confirmed to be a new playable character. I don't know when that's coming out. I did like the little teaser they had. They had like a little short promotion because Bob from Bob's Burger, Cleveland from Family Guy, and Hank are the new three characters. And I liked how they had Hank being the one who was not even in the slightest interested in Fortnite. Who was outside drinking a beer, which is in character for Hank. I do not see him being someone who would enjoy or even contemplate playing Fortnite. So that was pretty funny. But then we also got a little bit of a brief teaser that came out for Father's Day, where we got like our actual first look at the show. And I have to say, I did like what I saw. I did like the whole little exchange that Hank had with the Uber driver. He said, "I'm gonna give you a 4 instead of a 5, so you have something to work on." Like that just sounds like a Hank thing, where he's like, yeah, yeah, I'm not gonna give you the full stars, so you have like a little bit of room to work on. So that was pretty funny. Bobby's voice is kind of interesting because they still have the same voice actress. But it's kind of that weird thing that like a lot of anime have where they keep the same voice actor or actress, but they're like stuck in this weird in between of like trying to sound like they did as a kid, but they also try to sound older. Like Bobby's in that territory where like when you hear him talk, he does sound like he did when he was a kid, but you can tell they've like kind of altered it just a bit so he sounds like an adult, but it really doesn't make it sound like he's a full on adult. It just has this kind of weird in between. But it's not noticeable. It's nothing that's like too just, distracting. But I did like also in the teaser where Hank is like, come give your, old dad, your old man a big, and it's like a little pause, says handshake, which is also, just so in character for Hank. And that's what I do like. It seems from the little bit we've seen so far, it seems like at least for Hank, he has definitely stayed in character. Even after all these years, and it seems like they have a pretty good understanding of Hank, even for being updated for the modern day. Like it seems like Hank has still kept a good amount of his character from back in the day, which is definitely promising, definitely fun. So that was cool. That was definitely cool to see that. I will say it is, especially for me, because I've been a lifelong King of the Hill fan. I've been a King of the Hill fan forever. So to see all these characters finally, actually older, especially nowadays after the show was canceled for I think over 10 years. It definitely, for me, it definitely is a little bit emotional seeing all these characters come back. Seeing Hank older, seeing an older Bobby. Like I mean, I remember I used to always wonder, like watching the original show, and then when I'd rewatch King of the Hill, like what would he do actually as an adult? Like what would he look like? Where would he be at? Like what would he end up doing? Like would he end up being a magician, or would he end up being something like in the entertainment industry? Like it was just something I always wondered, and so now we actually, get to see what Bobby and Hank and all the characters are actually going to be doing. So one thing that I'm really curious about, and I have not seen a lot of information about this. Is I want to know who the new guy is, the guy who's in the blue like suit, the black guy. He's been there. He was there in the new intro, and it looked like he moved into Hank's house when him and Peggy moved overseas to Saudi Arabia. And he was in this teaser, but he's only in the background because you see Dale and you see Boomhauer, and then you see the new guy. And you don't see Bill. You see the new guy though. So I don't know who he is. I don't know if he's. I assume he's just a new neighbor, but I'm curious to see who like who that he's going to end up being. He might just be one of the new friends that they've had, and I'm guessing he probably just moved in, once Hank moved out, and he's just been there. But then again, that kind of begs a question because it looks like Hank and them are moving back into their old house. and that guy's still there. So I'm not really sure how that works. I'm really curious to see like well who he is and like what his kind of part in the story is. So that would be interesting. But also we got some other news. This is kind of a little bit of older news, but as most people are aware, Dale Gribble's voice actor Johnny Hardwick he passed away, I believe, at this point a few years ago. But the thing was, when he passed away, there was like a little bit of a confusion and a little bit of question of like how was Dale going to fit into the story? Because at the time of Johnny passing away, he had recorded a few episodes, but he hadn't recorded all of them. So now we found out that Toby Huss is actually going to be taking over as Dale. So apparently, Johnny Hardwick he recorded 6 episodes, and there's 10 altogether. And so he is going to be the one that's voicing him for the other episodes, which is cool. And also he's been in King of the Hill before. Funny enough, he voiced Khan. It was one of the characters he voiced before, and he also voiced Cotton. He voiced Joe, and he voiced a few other characters. So he's been involved with the show forever. He's just now taking over for Dale. So I'm kind of curious to see how much different Dale sounds like from Johnny to Toby. That'll be kind of interesting. But yeah, so that's I'm glad about that because I feel like Dale, especially for me, he's always been one of my favorite characters. I feel like it would just be really hard to do a reboot if they just like completely removed Dale or he was just like not there for half of the show because they didn't want to like replace Johnny or anything like that. So I'm glad they actually got a replacement, and I'm curious to see what his role will be in it. Like I feel like out of all the characters from King of the Hill, Dale is the one that would be the best character for our modern day. Like especially conspiracy theories and at the age of podcasts. Like I definitely feel like Dale would be someone who would have his own podcast. But we know that he's actually running for office, which that's an interesting take. I'm curious to see how that goes with Dale running for office. I feel like Dale. I mean, he's kind of gone back and forth. There was that period back in the day where he was like kind of pro government, and he went back to being kind of anti conspiratorial government. So I'm kind of curious to see what his mindset is about running for office and being involved with the government, which he's pretty much notoriously been distrustful of. So that'll be interesting. I do wonder. I doubt they'll do this, but it would be cool if they had since we know that Toby Huss is taking over for Dale and that he voiced Dale for the latter half of the show. It would be cool if they had like a little side series or like a little mini promotional thing where it was just like a Dale podcast where it's just him talking about like things that are going on in Arlen, things that are going on in the the King of the Hill universe, his own kind of spin on it, kind of like an Alex Jones, type podcast. Like I feel like that would definitely fit Dale. I would happily listen to that if they did that. So that'd be something cool to do. I don't think they'll do it though. But the one thing I guess I'm kind of critical of, and this might just be a me thing. I was watching the teaser several times, and it seems like the animation is kind of I don't know. It's not bad. The art style looks good. It looks just like the original did, but it's like the animation is like kind of it's like kind of blocky. It seems kind of stiff in a way. Like the way the characters move, the way they interact with things, it seems just like really stiff. It seems kind of stilted. Like I don't know. It just seems kind of off. Like I noticed that when I was watching the teaser, and I couldn't put my finger on it when I first watched it, but after I've rewatched the teaser, it seems like the animation's like kind of just a little bit on the stiff side. And that might just be because this, it's only a minute teaser. So that might not be, good representation of the whole show. But like, it doesn't, I don't remember the old show being like that. Like, I don't remember the old show having like stiff or kind of, rough animation. I mean, obviously when you're talking about like the episodes that came out in the 90s didn't look as good as the ones that came out like in the late 2000s and the early 2010s when the show got canceled. But that's my only real like kind of negative so far is just the animation. It just seems a little bit kind of off, but I don't know if that's just because of like what we've seen and that might not be a representation of the whole show. But so far I have to say I am I'm very excited still. I mean, we live in an era of reboots and remakes and sequels and revivals, and a good amount of them do not end up being good, and a lot of them end up being actually kind of damaging to the original IP. And fingers crossed, I think that this one might be one of the better ones. It looks like it. Like it seems like this was a pure passion project. I mean, they got Mike Judge involved. Pretty much all the original people that could come back are back. So it does seem like this is a promising revival. I don't think there's going to be anything after this season drops, because what I didn't know till today is that they're going to release all the episodes at once, which I like that. I'm not a fan of shows that do that, like, especially nowadays. Like, I get it back in the day, releasing one every week, but like, dude, just release them all at once. Like, there's no reason to do this, like, fucking releasing over 4 months or 3 weeks or 6 weeks. Just like release them all at once. So that's one thing I'm glad about, that there's going to have them all released at once. But I wonder if this reboot goes well. I wonder if they're going to decide to do more seasons, which that is where I'm kind of concerned, because I'm excited for this season, but I don't know if I want to see multiple more. I feel like the longer that this goes on, the likelihood of this being not good or actually damaging the series kind of increases. Not even just because, like, the creators would want that. It's just like, I feel like with reboots, especially today, they're kind of tricky. Like, once you do one good, that's good, but like, the more you keep going, just the likelihood of it just not being good, or just, characters having that Flanderized effect, or stories not being as good as they were, it starts to spike exponentially. So I hope that this is a one and done. As much as I love King of the Hill, and as much as I'm glad that they're coming back with this new season, I really don't want to see multiple seasons. I think that this being a one and done will be the good way to go. But honestly, I feel like we probably will get more seasons if this one is received well and is very popular. I think we're definitely going to get more seasons, which I'm not too keen on that. Hopefully they wrap it up after this one. But with that said, that's going to be all for me for now. And until next time, I will see you guys later.